watching Central Florida's CW18.
Now on WESH 2 News at 10, 5 years later. Today marks the anniversary of the day 49 people were killed, hundreds more impacted in downtown Orlando. How the community is remembering the lives lost. Plus, Daytona Beach police had their hands full this weekend with the annual Daytona truck meet. Hear why police say the fun event took a violent turn. And tackled on a plane, the moment's passengers had to step in to stop a man who got out of control.
Local, live, late-breaking. WESH 2 News on CW18 starts now.
It was the deadliest attack on the LGBTQ plus community in U.S. history. The Pulse nightclub tragedy left 49 people dead, 53 people wounded on Latin night was being celebrated at that club. Tonight marks 5 years since the tragedy. WESH News' Kelsey Thorward was at the Pulse Memorial tonight where the Orlando community remembered the victims of the shooting.
In unity, as a people determined to not let hate have the final say in our lives.
This is me.
Local leaders, survivors, and family and friends of victims gathered in front of the Pulse Memorial Saturday night to mark 5 years since the tragic attack that took 49 lives.
While this year, our 5-year remembrance, is considered a landmark year, we all know that time does not necessarily mean we have healed.
All week, people from across the state and country have been coming to the memorial, dropping off flowers, or just sitting in silence.
We just had to come back, and we're in Clearwater now. We moved down and, just help remember everyone, the 49 souls, and pay our respects.
During the ceremony, local leaders looked back on that night.
I do remember before any of us ever went out and talked to the media, and having a conversation with Mayor Dyer and others, what we said was that it is important to this community that we show unity, that we show that we will not be defined by this terror attack.
But they also looked forward, recommitting to the promises they made all those years ago.
To the 49 grieving families and the survivors and the first responders, let me be clear. We in Orlando have your back. We will do everything in our power to make sure that you have the support that you need.
My uncle Frankie Jamida Jesus Velasquez.
And my daughter Dianca Didi Drayton.
And it really was this year, it was that milestone of 5 years since the Pulse tragedy here. But as they said during the ceremony, time passes differently for different people. Some, the 5 years has gone by really fast. Others, it's gone by much slower. And I think it's really important to really point out that a lot of the victims and survivors at the time of the attack were in their early 20s. So many of the people who were impacted by this are still just in their late 20s. And, I think we can all understand how hard it is to get through something like this and to process all of that trauma. And we're still seeing that even now, 5 years later. For now, in Orlando, I'm Kelsey Thorne. Back to you.
Kelsey, thank you. Today, President Joe Biden said that he will sign a bill naming the Pulse site as a national memorial. President Biden said in a statement that he has stayed in touch with families of the victims and with the survivors who have turned their pain into purpose and described the club as hallowed ground. The Vice President has pride, and it was on full display today in our nation's capital. Kamala Harris surprised marchers by joining the Capitol Pride Walk and Rally. This is happening in D.C. The Vice President delivered a few remarks promising the Biden administration's commitment to the LGBTQ community. The Vice President also advocated for more LGBTQ protections around employment, housing, and the transgender community and our youth. Right now, we're going to turn our attention to the forecast, and we are looking towards a system that could be developing in the Gulf. First Warning Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi joins us now. Tony, how are you tracking this one?
You know, it's going to take its sweet time, Stu. It's just going to kind of sit here. If you look real quickly the last couple of hours, there's been some drier air working back in, so that's going to keep this at bay for a number of days. But gradually, towards Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll start to see this bubble of a tropical moisture begin to lift to the north. It's over very warm waters, so it does have a pretty good chance of developing between the next 5 to 7 days. And it is an invest now, so we are beginning to run some of our computer models on it. They're having a hard time since this is a very weak feature. But when you take a look at the forecast models, they're coming into the Texas-Louisiana border. I'm going to show you a few of them and what it means for a coastal Texas here right now. There's a European computer model. This is taking the moisture gradually and slowly into South Texas and then eventually over towards the Louisiana border. Coming up in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you the GFS model. We need some more rain. I'll show you if the GFS is going to bring this system any closer to us, and we'll take a look and time out those storms for your Sunday afternoon. All straight ahead, Stu.
Rapper Polo G, perhaps best known for his 2021 #1 single, Rap Star, was arrested on multiple charges this morning in Miami. The 22-year-old, whose real name is Taurus Bartlett, is facing 5 charges, including resisting arrest and battery on a police officer. Bond was set at $19,500. Miami police say that they are reviewing body camera footage and have no further comment at this time. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is searching for a missing swimmer after a current swept 3 people away Friday night off Apollo Beach. Deputies say that a Good Samaritan, who they are calling the Apollo Beach Hero, jumped into the water to save a man and child who were swept away by a current and were unable to swim back to shore. That man was also swept away by strong currents. The Coast Guard is still searching for him.
And her boyfriend saw that the adult and child were struggling and immediately, without hesitation, jumped in the water to try to help save the both of them. We are certainly calling him now not just a good Samaritan, but our Apollo Beach hero.
Police say an adult has been found dead and an infant was found alive and taken to a nearby hospital, but also sadly later died. Let's get you now to our coronavirus coverage. More cities and summer attractions are reopening and dropping COVID-19 restrictions. But lagging vaccination rates across the U.S. could leave some areas vulnerable to potential outbreaks and new COVID-19 variants. However, this week, other major cities like Seattle and Denver crossed the Biden administration's goal of having 70% of the adult population vaccinated with at least 1 dose by the 4th of July. Still, experts are split on how urgent it is to have children under the age of 12 receive the vaccine.
They are still at risk of hospitalization, and they are still at risk of having adverse side effects. Kids have been isolated for a large proportion of time.
Another concern among experts, the mental health of adolescents during the pandemic. Emergency room visits for suicide attempts rose an alarming 51% among teenage girls during the pandemic. That's according to a new study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Also tonight, CDC data shows that roughly 52% of the U.S. population has had at least 1 vaccine dose. 43% are considered fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, in 5 states, less than half of adults there have received even their first vaccine dose. Despite a 14% increase in vaccinations last week from the previous week, the vaccine rollout for adults living in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Wyoming is slow. Experts say that one reason could be vaccine inaccessibility due to socioeconomic barriers. And a recent study finds despite efforts from the White House, Black and Hispanic people remain underrepresented among those who are vaccinated. 55% of Floridians have had at least 1 vaccine dose at this time. It's been a violent weekend so far across the country. We are tracking at least 3 shootings tonight in Texas, Chicago, and Georgia, where in all at least 33 people have been shot. Let's start in Austin, Texas. Police have identified 2 male suspects in a mass shooting downtown that happened early this morning. At least 14 people were injured when those shots were fired. The preliminary investigation indicates the shooting began during an altercation between 2 groups of people. Police have not yet named those 2 suspects, but are working to get them into custody. Down to Chicago, 1 person was killed and 9 others were wounded in a mass shooting early this morning there on the south side. Police say 2 males approached a group of people standing in a parking lot at 2 in the morning and then opened fire. They say a 29-year-old woman was shot in the leg and stomach area, later died at the hospital. No arrests have been made. And in Savannah, Georgia, 1 person was killed, 8 others wounded in a mass shooting Friday night. Police say a car drove by an apartment complex and just fired into a crowd. 60 bullet casings were recovered at that scene. A 20-year-old man was killed. 2 people listed in critical condition. A 13-year-old and an 18-month-old baby were also hit. Their injuries are not considered life-threatening. No arrests have been made. Coming up, attempting an Olympic comeback. We're going to introduce you to the 43-year-old mom who is attempting to go to her 4th Olympic Games. Plus, another plane diverted for an unruly passenger, with thousands of similar reports already this year. What's behind the disturbing trend and a call for actions from people who make their living on board?
Spend some time with Mom in CW18's Happy Hours, weeknights at 7.
We know you have questions. You want to know when your life will get back to normal, how to heal our divisions, if anyone hears you, if Congress is working for you. We listen. We hear you. We tell your stories. I'm Soledad O'Brien for thoughtful perspective, fresh ideas, and conversations as diverse as America. Join me for Matter of Fact.
Sunday at 8 a.m. on CW18.
A flight from L.A. to Atlanta had to be diverted to Oklahoma City last night after a passenger became unruly. You can see several passengers on top of a man in the aisle. Say the man was walking up and down the aisle and eventually got into the plane's PA system. The man started making his way to the door. Other passengers stepped in to restrain him. Several people stepped up and managed to bring him under control. One passenger describes what the fight was like.
First thing I saw was everyone rushing to the front. And there was a male flight attendant who he pushed against the wall extremely hard. And that's when passengers were rushing to the front. People thought our plane was like going down. It was extremely scary. Like, I'm still shaking.
The plane landed and police were at the gate and arrested him. Passengers eventually reboarded the plane and made their way on to Atlanta. Now, as more Americans book flights this summer, the airline industry is seeing an uptick in unruly passengers like that. So far this year, the FAA says it's received nearly 3,000 reports of disorderly conduct, and most of those cases are passengers refusing to wear their mask. WESH News' Alex Diaz reports on the disturbing trend and the plea from flight attendants. I want to sing things over now to First Alert meteorologist, or I should say First Warning meteorologist, Tony Manolfi. And Tony, it's a hot day across Central Florida, but you're also staring at some things in the pipeline.
Yeah, we got a couple things we're going to be watching. We got Sunday storms. We've got, the brush fire we've been talking about. And we've also got something down in the Gulf of Bay of Campeche, down in the Gulf of Mexico. 82 degrees in Orlando right now. Wind is west. Dew points are in the mid-60s, so it's a bit humid out there. All right, back to the tropics. This is Invest 92, has a 40% chance of development, but that development won't happen towards late this week and likely will be headed towards Texas or Louisiana by the time it's all said and done. You take a look at the European computer model and the GFS model, all leaning towards Texas or Louisiana. With that far to the west, that would leave us out of that deeper tropical moisture. But we'll keep an eye on things. It's not set in stone, so keep checking back in. All right, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're dropping back into the upper 80s. The good news here is that those rainfall chances will stay elevated right through the middle of next week, Stu.
National Geographic has named the Southern Ocean as the world's 5th official ocean. The Environmental News Network announced a decision this week in honor of World Oceans Day, which was Tuesday. The Southern Ocean is defined as the body of water extending from the coast of Antarctica to the line of latitude at 60 degrees south. An official with Nat Geo says the Southern Ocean has long been recognized by scientists, but because there was never agreement internationally, they never officially recognized it. Next on WESH 2, how much would you pay to go to space? The price one person paid for a ticket on Blue Origin's first flight, and changing the perception of what a luxury home is. We'll introduce you to the unique foundation he used for this house.
WESH 2 weather on CW18 is driven by Toyota of Orlando and Toyota of Claremont.
When you think of a luxury home, shipping containers are not likely the first thing that comes to mind. But a man in Washington State is changing that perception entirely. Devin Haskins takes us inside the container mansion that's getting some national buzz. $2 million. I'm curious if insulation that could work in Florida. Hey, Hearst works in the shipping business, buying and exporting goods overseas. He says that he became interested in shipping containers about 20 years ago, which led him to the project back in 2015. Good job, buddy. Pretty awesome. Take a look at this story. Father's Day, just over a week away, and Americans are expected to spend more on dad this year. The National Retail Federation predicts U.S. consumers will spend more than $20 billion on gifts and other items for Father's Day this year. That is a record high. No ties and socks for us this year, Tony. Survey respondents indicated they plan to spend an average of $174 on Father's Day items. That is $26 more than last year. So maybe 2 pairs of socks. Hey, someone is paying $28 million for the opportunity to go to space with Jeff Bezos and his brother. Blue Origin auctioned off the seat to the highest bidder, with proceeds going to a science and technology charity and to educate children. The name of the winning bidder has not yet been revealed. Blue Origin New Shepard rocket has had 15 test flights, but when it blasts off July 20th, it will be the first time that humans are on board. The company's eventual goal is to sell tickets for a brief, jarring ride to 62 miles into space from its base in New Horn, Texas. Drought concerns are increasing across many parts of the U.S. this weekend, while officials say it is not just wildfires that they are worried about. And President Biden's first trip overseas continues with the second day of his meetings with the G7 nations. How other foreign leaders are feeling about the president's presence. Next.
The CW18 Late Night Comedy Club, weeknights at 11 on CW18.
People have a right to protect their land.
In class, you've been telling us ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Here's your chance to prove it.
The Republic of Sarah.
Monday at 9 on CW18.
Local, live, late-breaking. WESH 2 News on CW18 starts now.
President Biden and world leaders are meeting at the G7 summit in the UK this weekend with main issues to include the coronavirus pandemic, relations with China, and climate change. All of this while anticipation grows for President Joe Biden's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, NBC's Chris Pallone shows us where the meeting stands tonight. The primary election in the hotly contested New York City mayoral race kicked off today. Term limits will force Mayor Bill de Blasio out at the end of the year. 13 candidates are running to replace him, including former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang. Democrats far outnumber Republicans in the city, so the winner of the Democratic primary is highly favored to win the general election this time coming up in November. At this year's Summer Games in Tokyo, Olympians may have their credentials stripped away if they break new strict rules they are asked to obey. Now, sources revealed that Olympic-related staff and athletes must hand in activity plans in advance of next month's Olympics, which they will be required to follow strictly. If they visit tourist spots, entertainment areas, or places not mentioned in the plan, athletes may be disqualified from competition. The same measures will be applied if they refuse to wear a mask or take a COVID-19 test. The Tokyo Olympic minister said athletes and staff would be monitored at their accommodations. 13 years after retiring from diving, Laura Wilkinson, now 43, making another Olympic run. Mother of 4 has now reached the final of the U.S. Olympic diving trials and is just a few dives away from her 4th Olympics. She burst into the scene back in 2000, winning gold in her 20s. Now at 43, she treats every dive as a gift.
It's just the love of doing it. You know, when you feel called to do something and you're passionate about it, you just want to be all in. And it's the drive, it's the love. And I love that my kids get to watch me do this, not just me telling them how to live their lives, but they're seeing me, the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to actually get there.
The final is Sunday in Indianapolis. You can see all the action starting at 9 o'clock over on WESH 2. Coming up, saving money the next time you grocery shop. Our national consumer correspondent is breaking down apps that can help save you cash even as grocery prices continue to rise across the country. Tony.
Nice night here in Central Florida, but we do have more showers and storms on the way for your Sunday. I'm going to time them out for you hour by hour, all straight ahead.
Get full hours of Last Man Standing, The Goldbergs, and Mom. Weeknights starting at 5.
It's your day. So come on, all you early risers, alarm snoozers.
Gotta have my first cup of coffee drinker. Let's get started together.
So for all you need-to-knowers, the swipers and the scrollers.
The sky watchers. The traffic fighters.
And the everything in betweeners. This is WESH 2 News Sunrise. Weekdays starting at 4:30 a.m. Let's get this day started together.
Watch Batwoman right here on the CW.
In our latest Rosson reports, grocery prices might be rising, but that does not mean you need to pay them. Our chief national consumer correspondent, Jeff Rosson, shows us some simple tricks to save big time the next time you're at the market. Jeff. If you're hungry, go to Jeff's fridge. Let's talk now about your forecast of first warning. Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi. And Tony, a pretty quiet night out there.
It is gorgeous night out here. Orlando had a few showers today, but the heavier rains today, of course, fell on the eastern side of the peninsula. 82 out there right now. Wind is out of the west. Humidity is coming on up. You can see a little disturbance to the north, so we're not done with the rain. I think we're going to have a few showers out the door in the morning up into Marion County. As we get you on into Sunday and Monday, rainfall coverage is going to be quite high. This is good news. A widespread rain event with many folks getting over a half-an-inch rain. Golf round tomorrow, gonna have to watch this one with the multiple rounds of showers and storms. More concerned about the lightning and the clubs obviously being metal. You got to be very, very careful. Magic Kingdom, watch the skies there, north and west, as things rotate on in. Upper 80s to the north, lower 80s in town, as we'll get a little more sunshine and heating here before the cloud showers and storms begin to win on out. All right, there's a look now at Futurecast. You can see your front approaching Interstate 10 through Wednesday. The arrows pointing from the southwest to the northeast. That means a lot of tropical moisture in play for the beginning of the work week here. In fact, this is great news. We can see 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches of rain by the time it's all said and done. All right, so now we head to the Bay of Campeche. This little feature here will gradually lift north. Could become a depression late next week. It's got a 40% chance of developing while over some very warm Gulf of Mexico waters. Again, not concerned for Florida, but we'll watch the trends for Texas and Louisiana. Here's a look now at your updated 7-day forecast. Plenty of showers and storms here right through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, even on into Saturday. Zach, we are talking about rain chances that'll be running 30, 40, even 50%.
All right, thanks, Tony. The USF baseball team, they're currently in action in the Austin Super Regional, taking on Texas. I have an update on how the Bulls are faring coming your way next. Plus, a UCF freshman looking for a national title in the women's 100-meter hurdles. Could Renaya Jones take home the trophy? You'll find that out next.
Now here comes Anna Cochran.
How are you? We're bringing you the bright side of TV, and I'm so excited to figure out this thing called life with you. Watch the Drew Barrymore Show, weekday mornings at 10 on CW18.
This is incredible.
That's right.
This is my jam.
Hello, everybody. I'm Zach Maskovich. Day 2 of the NCAA Baseball Super Regional today, and 2 tickets have already been punched to Omaha. Vanderbilt and Stanford, the first 2 teams heading to the College World Series. Meanwhile, the USF Bulls are hoping to join them. They're taking on Texas in Game 1 of the Austin Super Regional. At last check, the Longhorns lead the Bulls 2-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Remember, 80% of the time, the winner of Game 1 advances to the College World Series. From Tampa College baseball to the pros we go. Now in soccer, there was a very scary moment in the Euro soccer tournament in the game between Denmark and Finland when Denmark's Christian Eriksen collapsed on the field in the 43rd minute. We're not going to show you the moment that he fell. He was treated on the field for over 10 minutes with his teammates forming a wall around him while he was being looked at by trainers. He was able to come to and is conscious in the hospital. The game was stopped for a considerable amount of time, but it would be finished with Finland winning the game 1-0. Now, Eriksen plays his club soccer with Inter Milan. One of his club teammates, Romelu Lukaku, he plays for Belgium, and he scored a goal today. And you can check this out. He runs right over to the camera, and he yells, "Chris, Chris, I love you," letting his teammate know that he is thinking about him. Certainly a cool moment there from one of the best players in the world. That's going to do it for sports. Let's send it over to Stu.
All right, Zach, thanks so much. Final check of your forecast and your wake-up weather. Here's Tony.
All right, guys, I tell you what, out the door tomorrow morning, warm and humid. A few showers around, temperatures quickly jumping up to about 81 as we get you into the 9 o'clock hour. From there, we're in the low 90s. Rain chances quite high Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Zach and Tony, don't take your ties off just yet. We're not done. But be sure to start your day tomorrow morning with WESH 2 News Sunrise. We're going to get you with the overnight news and your big stories that will shape up the rest of your weekend. That begins at 5 a.m. That's our news for tonight. We're going to be back over on WESH 2 News at 11. If you can't catch us there, you can always find your latest headlines over on WESH.com. Have a great night.
What is so funny?
I'll tell you. Seinfeld. Weeknights at midnight.
The cat is out of the bag.
When are you going to watch?
All the time.
I can't hear you.
All the time.
See? It's not so fun.
The best hour of late night laughs is here.
Oh, is this funny? I'm being funny? George, is this funny? It's funny.
Seinfeld, weeknights at midnight, only on CW18.
That is out there.